आदाय राधिकायै प्रियात्मने श्रीमद्भक्तिवेदान्त नारायणति नामिने श्रीकृष्णलीला कथने सुदक्षम् औदार्य माधुर्य गुणैश्च युक्तं वरं वरेण्यं पुरुषं महान्तं नारायणं तं शिरसा नमामि। त्रिदण्डिनां भक्तशिरोमणिं च श्रीकृष्णपदाब्जधृतैकरुधिर् चैतन्यलीलामृतसारसारं नारायणं तं शिरसा नमामि। First of all, offer my billions of obeisances to lotus feet of Asmati Guru Pad Padma, Nityala Preshta Jagat Guru Shri Śrīmad Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj, Tirandi Swami Shri Śrīmad Bhaktivedanta Dandi Maharaj, Namnishta Santa Shri Aniruddha Prabhuji, all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis who are gathered here, please accept my humble obeisances. Reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 13, Text 29. Evam Raja Vidurena Anujena Pradnya Chakshurubodhita Jamida Chitva Sveshu Sneha Pashandra Didmo Nikshakram Avratur Sandarshita Dva. Evam Raja Vidurena Anujena Pragya Chakshur Bodhita Ajamidha Chitva Sveshu Sneha Pashandrudimno Nishchakrama Bhratru Sandarshita Dvam. Evam, thus Raja, King Dhritarashtra, Vidurena Anujena, by his younger brother Vidura, Pragya, introspective knowledge, Chakshuhu, eyes, Bodhitaha, being understood, Ajamidha, Dhritarashtra, scion of the family of Ajamid, Chitva, by breaking, Sveshu, regarding kinsmen, Sneha Pashan, strong network of affection, Drudhimnaha, because of steadfastness, Nishchakrama, got out, Bhratru, by his brother, Sandarshita, direction to, Adva, the path of liberation. Thus Mahārāja Yudhiṣṭhira, the scion of the family of Ajamida, finally convinced by introspective knowledge, Pragya, broke at once the strong network of familial affection by his resolute determination. Thus he immediately left home to set out on the path of liberation as directed by his younger brother Vidura. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the great preacher of the principles of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, has stressed the importance of association with sadhus, pure devotees of the Lord. He said that even by a moment's association with a pure devotee, one can achieve all perfection. We are not ashamed to admit that this fact was experienced in our practical life. Were we not favored by His divine grace, Śrīmad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, by our first meeting for a few minutes only, it would have been impossible for us to accept this mighty task of describing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in English. Without seeing him at that opportune moment, we could have become a very great business magnate. But never would we have been able to walk the path of liberation and be engaged in the factual service of the Lord under instructions of His divine grace. And here is another practical example by the action of Vidura's association with Dhritarashtra. Mahārāja Yudhiṣṭhira was tightly bound in a network of material affinities related to politics, economy, and family attachment. And he did everything in his power to achieve so-called success in his planned projects. But he was frustrated from the beginning to the end so far as his material activities were concerned. And yet, despite his life of failure, he achieved the greatest of all success in self-realization by the forceful instructions of a pure devotee of the Lord, who is the typical emblem of a sadhu. The scriptures enjoin, therefore, that one should associate with sadhus only, rejecting all other kinds of association. And by doing so, one will have one will have ample opportunity to hear the sadhus. Who can cut to pieces the bonds of illusory affection in the material world? It is a fact that the material world is a great illusion because everything appears to be a tangible reality, but at the next moment evaporates like the dashing foam of the sea or a cloud in the sky. A cloud in the sky undoubtedly appears to be a reality because it rains, and due to rains so many temporary green things appear, but in the ultimate issue everything disappears, namely the cloud, rain and green vegetation, all in due course, but the sky remains and the varieties of sky or luminaries also remain forever. Similarly, the absolute truth, which is compared to the sky, remains eternally, and the temporary cloud-like illusion comes and goes away. Foolish living beings are attracted by the temporary cloud, but intelligent men are more concerned with the eternal sky with all its variegatedness. Text 30. Patim prayantam subalasya putri pativrata chanujagama sadvi Himalayam nasta dandah praharsha manasvinamiva satsam prahara. Pratim prayantam subalasya putri pativrata chanujagama sadvi Himalayam nasta dandah praharsham manasvinam eva satsam prahara. Patim, her husband, prayantam, while leaving home, Subalasya, of King Subal, Putri, the worthy daughter, Pativrata, devoted to her husband, Cha, also, Anujagama, followed, Sadhvi, the chaste, Himalayam, towards the Himalaya mountains, Nesta Danda, one who has accepted the rod of the renounced order, Praharsham, object of delight, Manasvinam, of the great fighters, Eva, like Sat, legitimate, Samprahara, good lashing. The gentle and chaste Gandhari, who was the daughter of King Subal of Kandahar or Gandhar, followed her husband, seeing that he was going to the Himalaya mountains, which are the delight of those who have accepted the staff of the renounced order, like fighters who have accepted a good lashing from the enemy. Saubalini or Gandhari, daughter of King Subal and wife of King Dhritarashtra, was ideal as a wife devoted to her husband. The Vedic civilization especially prepares chaste and devoted wives, of whom Gandhari was one amongst many mentioned in history. Lakshmiji, Sita Devi, was also a daughter of a great king, but she followed her husband, Lord Ramchandra, into the forest. Similarly, as a woman, Gandhari could have remained at home or at her father's house, but as a chaste and gentle lady, she followed her husband without consideration. Instructions for the renounced order of life were imparted to Dhritarashtra by Vidura, and Gandhari was at the side of her husband. But he did not ask her to follow him because he was at that time fully determined, like a great warrior who faces all kinds of dangers in the battlefield. He was no longer attracted to so-called wife or relatives, and he decided to start alone. But as a chaste lady, Gandhari decided to follow her husband till the last moment. Mahārāja Yudhiṣṭhira accepted the order of Vanaprastha, and at this stage the wife is allowed to remain as a voluntary servitor. But in the sannyas stage, no wife can stay with her former husband. A sannyas is considered to be a dead man civilly, and therefore the wife becomes a civil widow without connection with her former husband. Mahārāja Yudhiṣṭhira did not deny his faithful wife, and she followed her husband at her own risk. The sannyasis accept a rod as a sign of renounced order of life. There are two types of sannyasis. Those who follow the Mayavadi philosophy, headed by Sripad Shankaracharya, accept only one rod, Ekadanda, but those who follow the Vaishnavite philosophy accept three combined rods, Tridanda. The Mayavadi sannyasis are Ekadandi Swamis, whereas the Vaishnava sannyasis are known as Tridandi Swamis, or more distinctly Tridandi Goswamis, in order to be distinguished from the Mayavadi philosophers. The Ekadandi Swamis are mostly fond of the Himalayas. but the Vaishnava sannyasis are fond of Vrindavan and Puri. The Vaishnava sannyasis are Narottamas, whereas the Mayavadi sannyasis are Dhiras. Mahārāja Yudhiṣṭhira was advised to follow the Dhiras because at that stage it was difficult for him to become a Narottama. Text 31. Ajata Shatru Krutamaitro Hutagnir Viprannatva Tilago Bhumi Rukmai Graham Pravishto Guru Vandanaya Sachapashat Vitarau Sauvalimcha. Ajata Shatru Krutamaitro Hutagnir Viprannatva Tilago Bhumi Rukmai Graham Pravishto Guru Vandanaya Na Chapashat Vitarau Sauvalimcha. Ajata, never born, Shatru, enemy, Kruta, having performed, Maitra, worshipping the demigods, Huta, Agni, and offering fuel in the fire, Vipran, the Brahmanas, Natva, offering obeisances, Tilago, Bhumi, Rukmai, along with grains, cows, land, and gold, Gruham, within the palace, Pravishtaha, having entered into, Guru Vandanaya, for offering respect to the elderly members. Na, did not. Cha, also. Apashat, see. Pitarau, his uncles. So Balim, Gandhari. Cha, also. Mahārāja Yudhiṣṭhira, whose enemy was never born, performed his daily morning duties by praying, offering fire, sacrifice to the sun god, and offering obeisances, grains, cows, land, and gold to the Brahmanas. He then entered the palace to pay respect to the elderly. However, he could not find his uncles or aunts, the daughter of the king Subal. Mahārāja Yudhiṣṭhira was the most pious king because he personally practiced daily the pious duties for the householders. The householders are required to rise early in the morning, and after bathing they should offer respects to the deities at home by prayers, by offering fuel in the sacred fire, by giving the Brahmanas in charity land, cows, grains, gold, etc., and at last offering to the elderly members due respects and obeisances. One who is not prepared to practice injunctions prescribed in the Shastras cannot be a good man simply by book knowledge. Modern householders are practiced to different modes of life, namely to rise late and then take bed tea without any sort of cleanliness and without any purificatory practices as mentioned above. The household children are taken to practice what the parents practice, and therefore the whole generation glides towards hell. Nothing good can be expected from them unless they associate with sadhus. Like Dhritarashtra, the materialistic persons may take lessons from a sadhu like Vidura and thus be cleansed of the effects of modern life. Mahārāja Yudhiṣṭhira, however, could not find in the palace his two uncles, namely Dhritarashtra and Vidura, along with Gandhari, the daughter of King Subal. He was anxious to see them and therefore asked Sanjay, the private secretary of Dhritarashtra. Text 32. Tatra Sanjayamasīnam prapachhodvignamanasa gavalgane konastato bruddho hinasya netrayo. Tatra Sanjayamasīnam prapachhodvignamanasa gavalgane konastato vruddho hinasya netrayo. Tatra, there, Sanjayam, unto Sanjay, Asinam, seated, prapacha, he inquired from Udvigna Manasa, filled with anxiety. Gavalgane, the son of Gavalgana, Sanjay, where is na, our tata, uncle, vruddha, old, hinaha, cha, and bereft of netra, the eyes. Mahārāja Yudhiṣṭhira, full of anxiety, turned to Sanjay, who was sitting there, and said, "O Sanjay, where is our uncle who is old and blind?" Text 33. Amba cha hata putrarta pitruvyakvagata sruhut api maya kruta pragye hata bandhu sabharyaya Ashamsamana Shamalam Gangayam Dukkhito Apatat. Amba, mother aunt, Cha and Hata, Putra, who had lost all her sons, Arta, in a sorry plight, Pitruvya, uncle Vidura, Kva, where, Gata, gone, Srut, well-wisher, Api, whether, Mai, unto me, Akruta Pragye, ungrateful, Hata Bandhu, one who has lost all his sons, Saha, Dhritarashtra, Bharyaya, with his wife, Ashamsamanaha, in doubtful mind, Shamalam, offenses, Gangayam, in the Ganges water, Dukkhitaha, in distressed mind, Apatat, fell down. Where is my well-wisher, uncle Vidura, and mother Gandhari, who is very afflicted due to all her sons' demise? My uncle Dhritarashtra was also very mortified due to the death of all his sons and grandsons. Undoubtedly, I am very ungrateful. Did he therefore take my offences very seriously and along with his wife drown himself in the Ganges? The Pandavas, especially Mahārāja Yudhiṣṭhira and Arjuna, anticipated the after effects of the battle of Kurukshetra, and therefore Arjuna declined to execute the fighting. The fight was executed by the will of the Lord, but the effects of family agreements, as they had thought of it before, had come to be true. Mahārāja Yudhiṣṭhira was always conscious of the great plight of his uncle Dhritarashtra and aunt Gandhari, and therefore he took all possible care of them in their old age and agreed conditions. When therefore he could not find his uncle and aunt in the palace, naturally his doubts arose, and he conjectured that they had gone down to the water of the Ganges. He thought himself ungrateful because when the Pandavas were fatherless, Mahārāja Yudhiṣṭhira had given them all royal facilities to live, and in return he had killed all Dhritarashtra's sons in the battle of Kurukshetra. As a pious man, Mahārāja Yudhiṣṭhira took into account all his unavoidable misdeeds, and he never thought of the misdeeds of his uncle and company. Dhritarashtra had suffered the effects of his own misdeeds by the will of the Lord, but Mahārāja Yudhiṣṭhira was thinking only of his own unavoidable misdeeds. That is the nature of a good man and a devotee of the Lord. And a devotee never finds fault with others, but tries to find his own, thus rectify them as far as possible. Text 34. Pitaryu-parate Pāṇḍavau sarvanna-sruda shishun arakshatam vyasanata pitruvyau kvagata vita pitari uparite Pāṇḍavau sarvanna-sruda shishun arakshatam vyasanata pitruvyakagata vina Pitruvyakyagata vidam. Pitari, upon my father. Uparate, falling down. Pāṇḍavau, Maharaj Pandu. Sarvan, all. Naha, of us. Suruda, well-wishers. Shishun, small children. Arakshatam, protected. Vyasanata, from all kinds of dangers. Pitruvyav, uncles. Kva, where. Gatau, have departed. Ita, from this place. When my father Pandu fell down and we were all small children, these two uncles gave us protection from all kinds of calamities. They were always our good well-wishers. Alas, where have they gone from here? Text 35. Suta vacha Krupaya sneha vaikalya Suto viraha karshita Atmeshwaram achakshano Na pratyahati pidita Krupaya sneha vaikalya Suto viraha karshita Atmeshwaram achakshano na pratyahat pidita. Suta Uvacha, Suta Goswami said, Krupaya, out of full compassion, Sneha Vaiklavyat, mental derangement due to profound affection, Suta Sanjay, Viraha Karshita, distressed by separation, Atma Ishwaram, his master, Achakshanaha, having not seen, Na, did not, Pratyaha, replied, Ati Piditaha, being too aggrieved. Suta Goswami said, because of compassion and mental agitation, Sanjay, not having seen his own master, Dhritarashtra, was aggrieved and could not properly reply to Mahārāja Yudhiṣṭhira. Sanjay was the personal assistant of Mahārāja Dhritarashtra for a very long time, and thus he had the opportunity to study the life of Dhritarashtra. And when he saw at last that Dhritarashtra had left home without his knowledge, his sorrow had no bound. He was fully compassionate towards Dhritarashtra because in the game of the battle of Kurukshetra, King Dhritarashtra had lost everything, men and money, and at last the king and the queen had to leave home in utter frustration. He studied the situation in his own way because he did not know that the inner vision of Dhritarashtra had been awakened by Vidura, and therefore he had left home in enthusiastic cheerfulness for a better life after departure from the dark well of home. Unless one is convinced of a better life after renunciation of the present life, one cannot stick to the renounced order of life simply by artificial dress or staying out of the home. Text 36. Vimrujja shrunipāṇibhyāṃ vishtabhyātmātmanātmana ajāta shatrum pratyuche prabho pādāvanusmaran. Vimrujja shrunipāṇibhyāṃ vishtabhyātmanāmam vimrujja ashrunipāṇibhyāṃ Vishtabhya atmanam atmana ajata shatrum pratyuche prabho anusmaran Vibrajya shruni panibhyam Vishtabhya atmanam atmana ajata shatrum pratyuche Prabhu Pādau Anusmaran. Vimrujja, smearing, Ashruni, tears of the eyes, Pāṇibhyam, with his hands, Pāṇibhyam, with his hands, Vishtabhya, situated, Atmanam, the mind, Atmana, by intelligence, Ajata Shatrum, unto Mahārāja Yudhiṣṭhira. Pratyuche began to reply, Prabhu, of his master, Pādav, feet, Anusmaran, thinking after. First he slowly pacified his mind by intelligence and wiping away his tears and thinking of the feet of his master, Dhritarashtra, he began to reply to Mahārāja Yudhiṣṭhira. Text 37. Sanjay Uvacha Naham Veda Vyavasitam Pitrorva Kulanandana Gandharya va Mahābhāho Mushitosmi Mahatmyavi Naham Veda Vyavasitam Pitrorva Kulanandana Gandharya va Mahābhāho Mushitosmi Mahatmyavi Sanjay Uvacha Sanjay said, No, not Aham, I, Veda, no, Vyavasitam, determination, Pitro, of your uncles, Vaha, your Kulanandana, or descendant of the Kuru dynasty, Gandharja, of Gandhari, Va, or Mahābhāho, great king, Mushitaha, cheated, Asmi, I have been, Mahatmabhi, by those great souls. Sanjay said, My dear descendant of the Kuru dynasty, I have no information of the determination of your two uncles and Gandhari. O king, I have been cheated by those great souls. That great souls cheat others may be astonishing to know, but it is a fact that great souls cheat others for a great cause. It is said that Lord Kṛṣṇa also advised Yudhiṣṭhira to tell a lie before Dronacharya, and it was also for a great cause. The Lord wanted it, and therefore it was a great cause. Satisfaction of the Lord is the creation. Satisfaction of the Lord is a criteria of one who is bona fide, and the highest perfection of life is to satisfy the Lord by one's occupational duty. That is the verdict of Gita and Bhagavatam. Dhritarashtra and Vidura, followed by Gandhari, did not disclose their determination to Sanjaya, although he was constantly with Dhritarashtra as his personal assistant. Yata pravrittir bhutanam yena sarvamidam tatam swakarmana tam abhyarcha siddhim vindati manava siddhir vindati manava. By worship of the Lord, who is the source of all beings and who is all pervading, a man can attain perfection through performing his own work. अतः पुंभिर्द्विजश्रेष्ठा वर्णाश्रम विभागशः स्वानुतिष्ठस्य धर्मस्य संसिद्धिर्हरितोषणम्. O best among the twice born, it is therefore concluded that the highest perfection one can achieve by discharging the duties prescribed for one's own occupation according to caste divisions and orders of life is to please the personality of Godhead. Dhritarashtra and Vidura, followed by Gandhari, did not disclose their determination to Sanjaya, although he was constantly with Dhritarashtra as his personal assistant. Sanjaya never thought that Dhritarashtra could perform any act without consulting him, but Dhritarashtra's going away from home was so confidential that it could not be disclosed even to Sanjay. Sanatana Goswami also cheated the keeper of the prison house while going away to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And similarly, Raghunath Goswami also cheated his priest and left home for good to satisfy the Lord. To satisfy the Lord, anything is good, for it is in relation with the absolute truth. We also had the same opportunity to cheat the family members and leave home to engage in the service of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Such cheating was necessary for a great cause, and there is no loss for any part in such transcendental fraud. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. गोविंद जय जय गोपाल.